All right, we are live. The Hockey Outsiders, episode 5, October 9th, 2016. Welcome, everybody. Today we've got a couple special guests for you. We've got Raj. Is it Chana, Raj?
You got it.
Raj Chana. And, of
Yep.
course, a familiar face, Richard Cloutier.
I got my Oilers mitts, man. Let's fight.
He's ready to
Let's fight. I'm in a fighting mood tonight, man. The Oilers are pretty entertaining team, so we're gonna talk some shit.
Oh, we can start right off in the goo. I've been taking a lot of flack for I posted a little bit of just a thread on the Oilers fan group there, just saying that I question the asset management for the Yakupov trade, and I have just been getting roasted for it. So, what are your guys' thoughts on this trade? I'm pretty sure everyone. I mean, if we have anybody that doesn't know my stance on it, I think I agree that it was a necessary part, but I disagree with the timing of it, and I disagree with the return. I think that the Oilers had a situation here where they had factors in their favor where they could have waited it out and possibly got a better return for Nail Yakupov. What are your thoughts on that?
You want to start with this, Raj? I'll follow you.
Go ahead, Rich.
Okay, so we're going to talk Yakupov trade. You know what I find really interesting, and this is sort of my first thought on it, is the fact that the Oilers don't have much on the right side. And as you could see by tonight's exhibition game, and I hope you caught it over in Chinese Taipei.
I did, yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, sweet. I'm in Inuvik now, by the way, for those who don't know, and I actually did catch this Oilers game. You notice something about watching the team right now, and that's all the offense is coming from one line. And this is not a new problem in Oilers world to have not enough offense throughout the lineup. Nail Yakupov is a scorer. That's what he does. He's not a defensive guy. He's not going to check anybody into the ground. They've tried to use him as a third and fourth line winger, and it doesn't work because that's not what he does. That's not what he does. And here's the problem: is you have a coach and a management team that just it's not like they dislike Yakupov. Anytime you've ever seen anybody talk about Yakupov, they talk about what a great guy he is and how everybody likes him as a person, and he works hard too. There's no argument about his work, but what the argument is that, well, if he's not a good enough scorer and he can't play two-way hockey, what's his role on this team? You can't ask the guy to play two-way hockey. That's not what he does. He's a scorer. And if you put him on a line with people like Mark Letestu, he's not going to score because it's not what he does. You watch the game tonight and you see Eberle and McDavid have some chemistry. Nugent Hopkins and Draisaitl, like Draisaitl's a center. You're playing him out of position. Pouliot looks like he works better with McDavid than Lucic does. Like, you sit there and you look at it and go, this team could really use some offense from somebody and some secondary scoring, which is what Yakupov could bring. So instead of doing that, instead of putting him in a role where he could succeed, first of all, you stick him lower down in the lineup and you don't give him that opportunity. And then you trade him away for nothing, which is what it was. It was a salary dump. And that's depressing for a former first overall.
But a salary dump to pick up a guy like Chris Russell doesn't make much sense to me. Even we're overloaded on that side for defensemen. So,
I think Oilers fans need to realize by now, and I think the realization should have came with the Hall trade, that getting defensemen who can play at an NHL level is really tough. Where I get lost on the Russell signing is the fact that I don't know if Russell is any better than Jordan Osterley. I don't know if Russell is any better than Darnell Nurse. I don't know. He's certainly not better than Brandon Davidson as an overall player. I sit there and go, you have a big pile of left shot defensemen, and now you're adding another one. Is this a developmental team? Is this a team trying to make the playoffs? What's going through the Oilers management's mind right now? Because I don't get it, and that's where I get lost. I sit there and look at Yakupov and go, you know what? Yeah, you gave him away, and maybe it's better for him and better for the locker room, but the team doesn't have secondary scoring, so. That's because Puljujärvi, and I'll mispronounce his name 100 times, but I'm not calling him Pool Party. Sorry. That's such a terrible nickname.
Let's not call him Pool Party. No.
Yeah,
That is
he's
true.
not he's not ready for the NHL. You watch the third period tonight, two brutal giveaways in the offensive zone, and one of them resulted in a really strong. One of them resulted in a very strong scoring chance. It just he's not ready. And then you think about Oilers' history, and you go, well, how many high picks or highly touted prospects have they ruined by rushing? And you're going, well, they're going to do this again with Puljujarvi because now they don't have Yakupov and they don't, Everly's on one line. Who else did they have on the right side who could score? Cassian's not a scorer. Packarinen's not a scorer. Draisaitl's, like I said, he's a center, and so you're moving him out of position. I really I would have liked to be in the Oilers management room this summer to hear the phone calls that Peter Chiarelli made to see which assets he were going to move, because in a lot of ways, Hall, out of the three guys that were sort of like the talk at the end of last season was, well, one guy's going to get moved, either Hall or Ryan Nugent-Hopkins or Jordan Eberle. One of these three guys is going to get moved for a competent right shot defenseman. And my thought process going into the summer was, well, you don't want to move Jordan Eberle because you don't have anything else on the right side. You don't want to move Taylor Hall because he's too good of a player. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, because they have Draisaitl, is the logical guy to go. I think the Oilers probably tried to move Nuge, and I don't think there was the market for him, or certainly not the return for him that they wanted. And so Hall was the guy who went. Well, the reality of that is that you're going to be using three top two centers as your centers this year, or you're going to be playing one of them out of position, and that might not work. A lot of the talk around Hall with the analytics people, and I'm not an analytics people, was the fact that there's two guys on the Oilers last season who drove the offense, which was Taylor Hall and Connor McDavid. You just got rid of one of them. And then you sort of look at Nail Yakupov and you go, well, if you give this guy a legitimate chance in a top six position and you keep him there for 40 games and you let him play and you let him skate and you let him try and score, you probably have a better chance of finding some offense from him than a Drake Caggiula. You're asking a lot of a Caggiula. You just got here. You're asking a lot of a Jesse Puljujarvi. I don't understand where the Oilers' mind is. It's like they have some sort of brain cramp when it comes to the roster holes.
Are they thinking maybe Versteeg's able to fill that role? Is that maybe what?
Well, if they are, they're stupid. Versteeg's an okay player. Don't get me wrong, but he's a third line player, and he's hurt and he missed a bunch of time in his history. Like maybe injuries are not as recent with him, but he missed a lot of time in his history because of injuries. You're stupid to put trust in that player, and so I sit there and go, if the point of this is to make the playoffs, and there's as Mike, there's a really strong reaction to the Yakupov trade, and most of it was positive, much to my surprise. I sat there and went,
that's the thing that confuses me the most. This is how I feel that maybe the Oilers have sort of played a little bit to the fans. They always, even with the Hall trade, it was bring something new and shiny in, and then as a distraction, and then fire Hall away on the outside, so they can always have something to fall back on. And I think
there was absolutely pressure on the franchise to make a move for a defenseman, no question.
Sure, but they've done that sort of this time as well, right? They're like, okay, well, we're going to get rid of Yakupov, but let's do something either before or right after that kind of distracts everybody away from the actual garbage and shit that we got back in return for someone that should have been worth a little bit more than what we got.
Well, what I don't understand about it is, okay, so he's a $2.5 million cap hit, and the Oilers are not a playoff team this year. I'm going to repeat this over and over until people get it. This is not a good enough team to be in the playoffs, and that's fine. That's fine. When your core of your team, when the leadership on this team is Connor McDavid, who's 19, and Draisaitl, who's 20 or 21, Darnell Nurse, who's 20 or 21 or 22. Like, these are kids. Nugent Hopkins still a kid. This is the core of this team. And then you're going to put the expectation on them, well, they're going to make the playoffs. Well, no, they won't. The NHL's not that bad of a league that a really young team could just come in and win games. And so I think people need to temper it. They need to go, okay, the goal for this season is to develop, maybe finish 9th, maybe finish 10th in the division, get better. That's the goal. Get better, get our players to develop. With a player like Puljujarvi, the goal with him is get him to learn how to speak English, get him to learn how to play Canadian in a Canadian-sized rink. Get him to learn how to play the North American game and how to score here, how to translate, because they didn't take the time to explain this to Yakupov when they threw him into the NHL. They didn't take the time to explain it to Dustin Schultz when they threw him in the NHL. These were underdeveloped players who were forced into the team because the team wasn't good enough. So instead of telling your fan base, the problem is a communications issue. Straight up, is that the Oilers keep sort of saying to their fan base, we're going to be better, we're going to win, there's changes coming, and blah, 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 blah. And the fact of the matter is the truth of it is this is not a playoff team yet. They weren't able to acquire the assets this summer to make it a playoff team. Be honest about that. Just say to your fan base, the expectations this year is to get better. That's it. That's the whole thing. And then you don't have to sign Chris Russell, and then you can play Nail Yakupov in a top 2 role. And you know what? If he shits the bed and has a terrible season, at the end of the year, you say, you know what, Nail, see ya.
That's exactly what I said too. I said the same thing. I said, look, give Yakupov at least 20 games on the top line. If he doesn't produce, if he shits the bed, deal him away for the exact same thing you fucking just got, you know?
But he's been doing this for how long? That's the problem.
Yeah.
20 games.
Right? I think patience has run out, and then the other part, him demanding a trade, that was the other big deal. And
I think
somebody who doesn't want to be there, I think they're hands were tied.
If he'd have been given a fair shake with McDavid. Let's just say that. Yakupov, like from what I
would have liked to seen that when he came back from injury last year, put the two together. Yeah. If you're going to move him in the offseason, at least you build up his value. And
that's the whole point.
You go from there, right?
They've dropped the ball, and this is the part that bothers me the most. It's not so much that Yakupov's gone. It doesn't matter to me who they trade, as long as they're going to get better. But this trade does not make them any better at all.
No, it was getting rid of Nail Yakupov because the perception is out there that he's a problem. You know,
it makes their team depth even worse. I mean, yeah, okay, possibly we bring in, hopefully.
I don't know if he made our team better, though. Like.
Oh, no, he definitely didn't. Not now.
You know,
it's not better.
But
minus 84 in the last 3 years is minus 84. It speaks for itself.
Well, we could have signed Chris Russell and kept Yakupov. I mean, we have the cap room for that. We could have. I'm quite certain we could have squeezed that in.
Where's the harm in trying, let's say, McDavid, Yakupov, and Maroon as a line, or Pouliot as a line, and playing Nugent Hopkins, Lucic, and Eberle as a second line? And like, where's the harm in that? You know that Yakupov worked with Pouliot, for example.
Well, it actually adds depth. It adds depth and gives us more all-around balanced scoring, and that's how I see it. And for some reason, everyone's like, no, he was a cancer in the room. I've never heard that. You know, I've never heard that he was, you know, yeah, okay, maybe he had some practicing issues, but he's been having issues with this team now for a few times, misusing him. I mean, how long does it take before a player does sour on it? But again, I think, Raz, you would probably know this a bit better because you actually know Yakupov. You've been with him. You've hung around him. Was he that hard of a guy to please? I mean, if you would have given him, if you'd have sat him and said, okay, look, yeah, here's what we're going to do. We're going to sit you down. We're going to give you your shot. You're going to get 20 games with McDavid. If you perform, and if you want to stay, the door is open for you to stay.
Honestly, I thought he was a great kid. I met him even before the draft, and you got to look at it from his end. So, Russian player, high-end scorer, had skills to skate around whoever in the OHL, in the Russian league, you name it. Never really fully learned the defensive side of the game, which wasn't a big issue. That's not why we drafted him. And then coming into a new country, new team, obviously new coaches every year, not getting to play top 6 minutes, learning a new language. I think he had so much to adjust to, and then still not getting a chance to play top 6 minutes, which is what we got him for. And he got mismanaged the whole time he was here, right? So, you know, it was unfortunate because I do like the kid, and he is very likable, and he does work hard. But at the end of the day, I just don't think his hockey IQ is where it needs to be.
What scares me is the idea that we're going to throw, you know, Puljujarvi in a similar situation. And
well, I don't think we will. I think he's going to start on the farm, and he should.
Well, I hope he does. He doesn't look NHL ready, and the game tonight, he really didn't look NHL ready.
He's got to get used to the smaller ice surface, and he's just got to get his confidence up, right?
Here's a big.
Well, it's not that there's anything wrong with it, right? Sorry, Mike?
But he looks fine. You watch him play, like positionally, he's pretty sound out there, right? So It's going to come with time. He's got to get used to the smaller ice surface. That's his biggest adjustment, right?
He's a really big, lanky kid. You can see he's got size and strength to him. He's going to be really good. It's just a matter of getting him that. You got to keep the player's confidence high too, right? I mean, that's a pretty big thing that a lot of people don't usually talk much about. But that's something that I think is really important too. Is keeping a guy's confidence up and having him come in at the right times, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you look at Draisaitl's first season and how you could see there's a player there, but he wasn't ready. And last season he was ready for about half of it, and then he tailed off. He fell off, and it takes a few years to get these guys. Like you even look at somebody the caliber of Wayne Gretzky and compare his first 3 seasons statistically. There's no comparison between those 3 years. There's a huge leap that happens in that 3rd season. And, what I'm concerned about with Draisaitl is you're playing him out of position. And he's clearly a center. And so I don't.
He shouldn't be moved. He shouldn't be moved.
I don't mind trying him there just to see what we got on the wing, because he's got enough head smarts that he can play there. He's an excellent passer. And
we don't have
he might
anybody
create some more room for the Nuge too, right? So.
Yeah, we have to use him there. We got nobody else on the right side. Like Versteeg's not good enough for that role, nor there's
Versteeg will be third line, and I think he's okay in the third line winger, right?
No, it's at third line, sure. I don't have a problem with Versteeg as a bottom 6 forward, but I do have a problem with him if we're looking to him to be in the top 6. And then what's disappointing is the others have the assets. Plus, they could have. They like, I know this is a swear word, but they could have looked at moving a Darnell Nurse. They have that much depth on the left side defense. They could look at moving their draft picks to next season or the season after. They could have made something happen to get somebody on the right side who can play.
That's another thing too. Is I think they've got a few. They still got a few places that they need to get rid of guys. They had a kid like Yakupov in there. You'd think you'd be able to get more value for your draft picks in the coming years, and I would prefer to have dealt that first before seeing what you possibly still had in Yakupov on McDavid's wing for the first few games.
How do you feel about Griffin Reinhart?
Well, when that trade went through, I thought that was just an absolutely ridiculous trade.
Yeah, Barzal looks like he's going to play in.
Barzal's going to make the team. He's making the team.
He's going to play top 9.
We'll see how good Barzal is, right?
He's making the team. Supposedly, he's made it to the bottom, the last day of cuts. From what I've heard, he's going to be might possibly be playing on the wing with Tavares.
Jesus, yeah, that's funny.
So, I mean, yeah, I mean that.
What happened to Dal Colley? I don't follow the Islanders.
To who?
Dal Colley.
Oh, okay.
Dal Cole, thank you.
Yeah. He's still an up and comer. I don't think he's going to make it this year. The Islanders' defense is quite going to be a little bit tougher to crack. I mean, they got some pretty decent players there on D, but he's one of their prospects that are sort of up and coming as well. So, yeah, like I said, from what I've seen from the Islanders stuff, it looks like Barzal's gonna make it. He's slotted in as of now as a I think the third line center, but there's talk that they're going to move him up with Tavares to be on the top line. He's going to play the.
Well, hopefully the move will be good for Griffin. He needs some time down there, get his confidence up. I saw spurts out of him last year. He looked all right, but he's got to bring it every night if he's going to stay in the show, right? So.
The Islanders have another young kid named Pulak who's supposed to be quite good too, who's made it before.
The guy with the bullet shot.
Yeah. So yeah, it's interesting. Like I said, I don't see how the Yakupov deal made this team stronger now or in the future at all. I don't see it. And it's a really tough one for me. I mean, like I said, it has nothing to do with Yakupov. I've been saying that the guy that should go is Eberle just because he's too soft, but for some reason
very soft. The only reason he's still on the team is because he's a right-handed shot. Simple.
Yeah.
I think he would have been gone, right?
I think he should have been. I mean, obviously they probably wouldn't have got Larson for Hall, I guess. But I mean, it makes you wonder what would happen like later on. Like usually the off season is a place that you do make trades that are are kind of, they can be beneficial to a point because there's some teams that are shedding salary or whatever. But when you're, I question if we would have gotten more value, like maybe around trade deadline.
I think it's very telling who the Oilers gave letters to. I think McClellan and Shirley sort of have a feeling about who they want to be the leadership of this team, and like myself, just because of what the Oilers are comprised of roster wise, I wouldn't want to see Everly go anywhere just because they got nobody on the right side.
Yeah, they can't do
it. Like, and you got nobody on the right side. You got to play somebody, right? Yeah. So you look at it, and you kind of go, well. But I just sort of go there and everybody has their players they like and they don't like. I guess I've never been a fan of Ryan Nugent Hopkins' game, and before the draft I was really screaming at the TV to take Landeskog, right? So I sort of look at it and I go, well, Hall is not somebody you wanted to lose. These guys got all the same, their yearly cap hit is the same, and you look at it and go, well, Hall's not the guy you'd want to go, and Everly they need. Who can be moved for a defenseman? And I'm still like Larson, and I feel bad for Larson because quite honestly, the others needed a right shot defenseman, and he should be allowed to succeed and be left alone to play. But
he's going to have some pressure on him for sure.
Yeah, he's got some pressure, but I think they targeted a contract more than it was the actual. Well, I mean, of course, the player attached is decent, but nobody really knows what he's going to be. But they targeted a young kid with a contract that has term that they can manage. I think that was their main goal in this was, I mean, getting someone that could turn into something that is kind of locked in for a certain amount of time at a decent contract. So they, getting the contract and the player that they have and could potentially have isn't so bad. So I guess, like I even said before, I can justify that trade because it filled a need.
Yeah, I could do that the same. Yeah.
But this Yakupov deal didn't help anything at all.
It was a straight dump.
Yeah,
for sure. For a career AHLer, right?
Why you dump a 24-year-old kid though? You know what I mean? 23-year-old kid.
Well, he didn't help the situation any. You got to remember that. If he played better.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to know too, like how badly he wanted out. Like, does anybody know that his agent wanted him out?
Well, you remember last year when it came out that obviously he wanted to trade. That was enough said right there. He wasn't happy with how he's used, right?
Well, Larionov came out. What was it? The second year that Yakupov was here, and it had a chat with the Oilers about it because they weren't using him properly too, right?
Yeah.
But then that was supposedly all smoothed over, and then all of this stuff resurfaced again last year, which again should have been, because again I don't think he's been given a fair shake, like at all.
I think personally the worst thing that happened to him was Dallas Eakins. He went downhill after that, and I don't think he ever recovered.
So what are your predictions for him in St. Louis?
If they put him where he should be.
I think they're going to set him up straight away. They're going to put him on a line with Paul Stastny. Probably, I'm not sure who they're going to have on the wing, but he's going to be on a line with an actual true passing center in Paul Stastny.
They said they're going to be patient with him, right?
Yeah, they're going to give him every opportunity to succeed. And Hitchcock likes his systems.
How many does he have to score for the Oilers to get the second round pick?
I'd like to see his 15 goals that he needs to get, and let's get our second.
15. Yeah, get the 15. Seriously.
Get the 15, and after that, that's all I'm
I
concerned
think
about.
they're going to set him up straight away. Like, I mean, from what the lines show as of now, it's Stastny's with Steen and Fabry, but I don't think that's the case. I think it's Stastny's with Tarasenko, which is on the right side as well. So he'll either be playing with Yori Laterra or Patrick Berglund. But I think he's going to be getting power play minutes as well. So
I think the other factor with him in St. Louis is he'll have a little more freedom offensively because he's got all-star caliber defensemen behind him.
Yes.
So he's not going to get exposed like he has been here. That's huge.
Yeah, that could be a big selling factor as well.
Do you think we'd need him to be that two-way player if we had all-star caliber defensemen back there?
Yeah.
We just need him to go out and score goals. That's why we drafted him, right?
Yeah.
So here's the next question for you guys, and I know this is going to be extremely popular with everybody because now we've officially, the first time in a few years have completely we are devoid of a whipping boy. So who do you think is the new whipping boy if this team struggles out of the gate?
I think it's actually already started. I think people are really. No, I'm starting to see Milan Lucic comments. Why did we give this guy $6 million? Where's the offense? I don't think people realize what we were paying for in Milan Lucic because it's not his role here is not going to be to score a bunch of goals, leadership. Right? His role is leadership, and that was the reason he was brought in. So he's not, and also to be a scary physical presence. Who's with Connor McDavid? Everybody remembers Gretzky, remembers Semenko, and it's not because Semenko can play hockey. Mm-hmm. It's because you didn't want to piss him off, right? He'd hurt people, and that's what Lucic does, and he can, and that's his value to this team is to make sure that McDavid gets to be safe out there, because Eberle's not going to keep McDavid safe.
Well, this was what I said to you before. I think Eberle is exactly what he is. I don't think it matters who you play him with. He is going to be a 25 to 30 assist, 30 goal guy. 25 to 30 goals. I think that's what he is no matter who he plays with. Even when he plays with McDavid, that's what he's going to max out at. That's just Eberle.
I like how they look together, but I think Pouliot looks like a better fit for that line, just in terms of being able to play hockey.
I think once the regular season gets going, Lucic will crank it up a gear. It's the way he plays. I don't see him playing that same style in preseason. You see his first game against the LA Kings. Those are his buddies from last year. He's not going to be crashing and banging and taking their heads off, right?
Yeah.
Right.
My opinion. But he's a regular season guy. He knows what's going on.
Richard, you say Lucic will be the new whipping boy. Who do you think, Raj?
I would say as of right now, it'll be Mark Fane, which is a little unfair since he's probably our number 6 defenseman.
Not the team to start with. He's not even going to be there. They're dumping him off.
I have a feeling
the shift he had that led to the goal tonight. Jeez.
I have a feeling they're going to be sending him down tomorrow to see if somebody will pick him off of waivers or something.
I think so too. I think they're sending him. They're going to send him down. They want him gone. And I said that as soon as they signed that guy, I said this exact thing would happen. I said, why would they even sign him to that when he might not even make the team in 2 years? Lo and behold,
Finn can't play. Like he's not like
they brought him in because of analytics. They're like, oh, he's a possession guy. Let's get him.
Can I go on a tirade?
Yes, you can. Please do.
Yeah, because I mentioned that when we were talking about this podcast that I wanted to have a tirade, and actually this tirade's directed at Oilers fans. Okay. And I'll try and be very short and specific with this.
Oh no! Vulgar as possibly.
No, I'm not going to be that. I'm going to take the high road here, but this is a tirade. Make no mistake, this is a tirade. Okay, so the Yakupov trade happens.
Should I get popcorn?
No. This will take a couple minutes. It's really short. So the Oilers go out and they trade Yakupov for nothing, which maybe they needed to do, maybe they didn't. Who knows? And then they sign Chris Russell, which maybe there's a bigger plan that I don't see here. Maybe Fane's gone.
Good stopgap.
Yeah, like maybe there's some sort of reason, logic to all of this, and I don't get it, but maybe somebody gets it. I put my unhappiness, let's put it that way, about the Yakupov trade and about the Russell signing on Twitter. And immediately I lose about 30 followers from Twitter, and everybody starts freaking out on me. You're so negative. You're so negative. You're so negative. Okay, if you're a fan of a sports team and you're critical and they've lost for the last 10 or 11 years, don't you think you're being more of a fan of the team by caring if they succeed?
What?
Than saying nothing? No, but this is what I don't understand is that people sit there and, you're just supposed to be happy. Shut up and be happy. The Hall trade happened. Shut up and be happy. Yakupov trade happened. Shut up and be happy. Oh, the team's better. Be positive. Be positive. And I sit there and go, no, actually, you guys are idiots. Just think about this for a moment. We've just given away 2 first overall picks for probably a 3 defenseman. Maybe a 2 if he develops right. And we needed him. Well, we needed him. I'm not going to bash Larson. We needed him. But that's a hard trade to swallow anyway you take it. The Yakupov trade is, I thought it was even more insulting. Because I sit there and go, if you care so little about this guy, just play him out until his contract ends and let him go.
Let him go to Vegas.
Yeah,
But he's hurting his score in the lineup than he is out of the lineup. That's the part I'm not getting.
Is he really though?
Yeah,
like
really?
Minus 84. What do I need to tell you guys? He's a minus player. He gives the puck away all the time. He doesn't make good offensive decisions. He doesn't have an elite shot. He's not a speedster. He wasn't getting it done personally.
But the point of all this is I think that other fans should point, like I know a lot of season ticket holders and a lot of really pissed off season ticket holders who were at the point last season that if there wasn't a new rink coming, they wouldn't have renewed their tickets. The whole reason they bought other tickets this season, shiny new rink. And there's going to come a point, a year, 2 years, 3 years down the road, shiny new rink is not going to be enough anymore for people. They're going to sit there and go.
It's always that illusion, right? We're going to
even the shiny $15 beers. They got to get
new and shiny over here, everyone. Look over here.
Yeah, because the fact of the matter is that regardless if Lucic or not was a good signing, he's stuck with us now. There's no way you can move that contract. Aside from the fact that it is no move. I don't mind it either. I don't mind it either. But the point is
I think as soon as Lucic starts filling the net, fans are going to absolutely love him.
I think fans are going to love him even if he's not filling the net because he brings in that physical presence. He brings in that attitude. He brings in that cockiness that this team's needed for quite a while. So I think he's going to be a fan favorite regardless of if he's filling the net. Yeah, there's going to be those people that are like, oh, he's not scoring as much. But I think he's going to be a fan favorite regardless. And he was like that in LA.
As long as he gets to the paint, which he will, and he has his stick on the ice, he's going to have at least 10 tap-in goals this year with wide open nets. Guaranteed.
The point I was trying to get at is the contract we gave him, the money we gave him, we're stuck with him now. He's the Oilers. He's a core player now, and he better work out because it's going to be really scary if he doesn't. Oh, I hope he does. I like Lucic. Yeah. This is not a negative Lucic, but I guess this is the point: is that Oiler fans, especially the ones who are paying thousands of dollars to be Oiler fans, have a certain say in this. They're shareholders, if you will. This team doesn't exist without the people who buy the tickets. And those people have a right to sort of say, this team blows and I'm tired of it blowing and management should do something to fix it.
But you're going to get every single time you get the same argument, you get that, well, you are making changes, but you're not happy with the changes.
Well, no, but good changes. I hate to be this way, but you can't look at the moves the Oilers did this summer and say this is going to be a team that makes the playoffs. Anybody who says that's in denial. And me saying that is not me bashing the team. That's being realistic. You can't have a core that young. It's too young, it's too unproven, and there's too many roster holes.
The only way it's going to happen is if each of the guys we've got plays to their potential and we find some chemistry in a hurry. And we have a hot goalie all year round.
Secondary scoring is actually the biggest issue now. Because I even think the defense, even though there's no 1-2 pairing, really, there's no true 1-2. I also don't know if there's very many 5-6. They have some pretty decent, like Brandon Davidson can play. Like this is a guy who can play, and Sekera can play, right?
Sekera can play. We don't have a 1-2, but we've got.
And Russell looked just fine tonight. Russell can play too. That was a good.
Yep.
Russell's a good defenseman. It's a shame that he's a left-handed defenseman. But he is a good defenseman, right?
Yeah. And the team can get better if they have three pairings that can all play. Like a lot of teams have a clear 1-2 and a clear 3-4, and then a bottom pairing that barely sees the ice. Oilers are almost as good to have 3-4 pairings, right? Like if you can put on three solid pairings and there's no real weakness, that's almost as good.
Through all the time, right?
We haven't had this in a long time. Remember, like it's been a long time.
I would say this team's probably had more depth at every single position than it's had in many, many years before dealing Yakupov.
Yeah.
I thought that they had some of the best depth that we've had in a decade. Even more depth than the Stanley Cup run that we had in 2006.
I just don't think it's a matter of negativity to point out, concern over certain things.
It should never be focused that way. When you care that much to actually point out flaws and try and make it better and to worry about, like I said, my whole post was just very basic. It was just like, look, I'm really concerned about the asset management because I don't think this is a smart trade asset management wise. It just like you said, like Raj said, it's a dump. Why you're dumping a guy like that, just it doesn't make sense. His contract isn't an albatross. It's like $2.5 million. If you're gonna dump somebody, dump Mark Fain at 4.5 or 5 million or whatever the hell he's making. Dump
3.625 is it? Or is that Ferentz?
Yeah, 3.6.
No, that's
3.65 maybe. Yeah. Something
Mark
like
Or is
Fain's
it
making
2.5?
5.5, I think.
Fain's making $3 million more than I do at least. Let's just put it that way.
He's making $4 million a year.
No,
That's not his cap. That's not his cap hit.
Yeah, either.
That's not his cap hit, is it?
Let me see. Yeah, Mark Fain has $14.5 million cap hit. He inked a 4-year deal for 14.5. 4 years.
14.5, so 7.25. Yeah, 3.625 or whatever it is.
Yeah, that's pretty depressing.
Oh,
What a boat anchor. There's still 2 more seasons on that contract, right? What a boat anchor that is. Who is running this team?
It can't be any worse than Ferentz's last 2 years, right?
Ferentz cut him a little bit.
Nikitin. I could throw Nikitin out there.
Well, Nikitin was...
It gets worse.
Yeah. Remember Beloff? That was a pretty good addition, too.
You know what? I like that kid. Didn't work out, but he wasn't bad.
He was thrown in a really bad situation, too. Again, I think if you put him in the right situation, you pair him with with an actual number 1 defenseman, and he wouldn't look very much.
Well, I think the biggest problem with their defensemen has been that guys have had to play in 1-2 spots or 3-4 spots, and everybody's been bumped up where they shouldn't be, and they've been exposed because of it. Justin Schultz being primary example number 1. So
yeah. Now
I think we've got some guys, like you said, our top 4 could be interchangeable depending on who we've got up there. So whether we've got Larson, Clefbaum playing 1-2, or we've got Davidson, Sekera playing 3-4 possibly.
I think Clefbaum's going to emerge himself as a true number 1 defenseman this year. I think he's going to have
I think that's going to be a great pairing, and I hope they're fantastic for the next 5 years.
Yeah, I think he's going to have his breakout year this year. He's going to be very dominant back there on the point. If he stays healthy, he
played great for us last year before he went out.
Yeah, he's going to really establish himself as one of the top.
So is that what we're saying? The top pairings, like the pairings this year for defense, ideally, if everybody's healthy, is Clefbaum and Larson is one pair, Sekera and Davidson is another pair, and then maybe Russell and Nurse.
Sekera and Russell.
It'll probably be Sekera Russell on the second unit. I think he'll be a top 4.
And then
Davidson was obviously arguably our best defenseman after Clefbaum went down last year, right? Davidson's stud.
I liked what I saw from Matt Benning in camp. I feel kind of bad for him that he didn't get he's not going to get a chance to make the team because I liked him better than he brought some offense and that's going to be the
But you know what? Having him on our top pairing in AHL isn't going to be bad either, right?
Just of course not. Of course not.
How old is Benning?
Get him running a power play, and it'll be good for his development.
I think he's 22.
22?
Yeah, he's just
to make it, I think.
Oh yeah. It's fine that he's in the AHL. It'd be fine if Darnell Nurse was in the NHL or the AHL this season. Like really.
Well, ideally, I'd like to see Nurse, Puljujärvi, and Benning start in the AHL this year.
Yeah.
That's not a bad problem to have.
What do you guys feel about Kajula? He's been quite impressive.
They miss him.
He's been good. He's been really good.
He's like Todd Marchand with hands, isn't he?
Is he just a diamond in the rough type of thing?
No, I think he's a diamond in the diamond. I don't see the rough part. He's slick and he can play and he's feisty for the little guy.
Well, we got lucky to get him.
He wasn't really on anybody's radar
no cost
for picks or anything. Where did we even get him from?
He was a free agent signing.
We just signed a free agent out of college.
Out of college, right? So how does a guy that's playing that will not make his way through the draft? or get noticed by anybody.
It happens.
Well, you know how many teams were after him. We got lucky to get him.
Yeah, I've heard that. Yeah,
right.
We got Justin Schultz on that one. We got chosen.
Yeah, but the Schultz thing, I think that they came and they were like, here's all this unbelievable star youngsters, and you can be part of this. And I think now the sales
I blame Craig
package
McTavish on that one.
well, yeah, I think the sale palette,
Trophy.
the sales package now is that, Cirelli calls people up and says, "We got McDavid," and that's all he says. What else are you going to say? We got McDavid. Well, okay.
And the shiny new building with the $15 beers. Don't forget that.
And the parking in the basement.
Sweet
players.
$15 beer night. Woo!
I'll be pre-drinking a little before I go up there.
No kidding. $15 beer night. Sweet. Sounds awesome.
I was at a where was it? Air Canada Center last week or 2 weeks ago for the World Cup. Beer delivered to my seat was $16.75.
That's actually not bad for Toronto.
Well, it is what it is. I think it was like a $2 or $3 surcharge just to get it delivered to your seat. But I went to the final 3 games. It was good.
Oh, that's where you were taking so many pictures. It was the waitresses, Raj. I get it.
Well, hey. I did 3 World Cup hockey games and 3 Blue Jays games in 6 days, so it was an expensive week.
That's awesome.
Yeah, the Jays look like a team this year.
They look really good. I'd be flying out to Toronto tomorrow, except I'm a little under the weather tonight, so I think I'm gonna have to pass on this one.
They said that they're the odds-on favorite to win it all at this point in time. They said, or something like that.
They
I don't know about odds on like the East. The National League, there's some pretty stacked teams there. But we're playing really good right now. We got our bats going, and our starting pitching is top shelf. So
yeah.
No.
Let's do. We touched on the last couple podcasts. We did a breakdown of the Atlantic and the Metropolitan divisions. And sort of what we'll do today is we'll just go back and sort of reiterate who we think are going to be the top 3 from the Atlantic and the Metropolitan, and then we'll head over to the Western Conference and do the Central Pacific and who we think is going to make it and where. How does that sound?
Yeah.
All right. So Metropolitan, I had Washington finish first, followed by Pittsburgh. Underneath them, I have the Islanders. The Islanders supplanting the Rangers this year for that 3rd spot. And I have the Rangers, the Flyers, and the Buffalo Sabres really battling it out for that last wild card spot. What do you think about that? Richard, go ahead.
No, I think I think actually the I'd kind of say it's between the Rangers and Flyers. I don't think Buffalo's there yet.
I think Buffalo's my underdog pick. I picked them to have a really strong season. I think they're really deep. They've got some really good young players there. I think Robin Lehner has a fantastic year in net this year as well.
Yeah. I see the Flyers improving. The Flyers are going to get better. They have some good young defense, and so I like the Flyers sort of moving up. I see the Rangers like you, that they're sort of declining. The Islanders moving forward. Washington, you can't argue with last season. I don't know how you don't pick Washington and Pittsburgh to be good.
Yeah.
Because there's not a lot of roster change with those 2 teams either, is there? So, you have to sort of go with those teams.
How about you, Rush?
I agree. I got Washington first, Pittsburgh second, Islanders third, and then haven't really looked at the wild card too much yet, but those are my top 3.
Okay.
I'll stick Flyers. I'll go out on a limb and say Flyers is the wild card team.
I got Buffalo. I'm going out on a limb taking Buffalo. I think they're going to be better than most people think this year. And them getting a lot of cake games against the Leafs and the Jackets and stuff like that will really help them out.
I think the Jackets are a decent team, though. Last year, they seriously underperformed.
I think you've been saying that for 5 years.
Well, they had one season in there. They look like something.
Eastern Conference. They really are.
Did they hire Hausen back?
I think they've got Eakins in there. Eakins might
be
somewhere down the line, I would imagine. Jeebus.
Clown college.
I've got Columbus being the bottom dweller of that conference,
Really?
with New Jersey. Columbus and Jersey, I think, are going to be the worst two teams in that conference.
Yeah, I don't see how Jersey, like I like Hall, but I don't see how New Jersey becomes better.
I think the only reason they won't be in the basement is Corey Schneider's just too good.
Corey Schneider is too good, but he's not going to be able to.
You wonder what if we did overpay Vancouver for that guy when we had the chance. But.
Oh yeah, well we wouldn't be sitting here chatting about a Yakupov trade at this point in time. We could have let him go for nothing because that guy solves a lot of problems on his own.
And I think asked Montreal about that last year. Your goaltender can be a difference.
Yeah,
yes.
I still have Montreal missing the playoffs this year, but obviously I think they're going to be a little bit better, but they're going to be a shade underneath that.
Well, I don't think I got him missing the playoffs, not with one of the top 5 players in the world back this year. So
who do you have?
Price will get hurt about 3 minutes into the season, and
don't say that. I picked him in my hockey pool last week.
The Habs will die a horrible death.
That's not good for me.
Don't jinx them already.
What do you guys have for the Atlantic?
Want me to start?
Yeah, go ahead.
I like Tampa Bay, Florida, and then I got Montreal in the 3rd spot.
Yeah, that's
really.
Right.
I think Carey Price will be the difference. So.
What are my options? What am I picking from the Atlantic? I didn't prepare for this part, so.
You got Florida, Tampa. Here, let me.
Okay, I like those 2 teams. That's good. Next.
Yeah.
Carolina.
Those 2 are good.
The Atlantic.
Detroit, Montreal, Boston, Buffalo, and Toronto.
Yeah, Florida, Tampa, Detroit, Boston, Ottawa, Montreal, Buffalo, Toronto.
Oh God, yuck! So Tampa and Florida. Can we just keep it at 2?
Just keep it at 2.
Like there's 2 good teams and everybody else sucks. Like it's.
I think.
Tampa, I don't know.
I think Tampa's going to be first in that.
Oh yeah,
division
no
for
question.
Sure.
That's a weak
division. By Florida. I think after Florida, I've got Buffalo. The Buffalo, Montreal, Boston. One of those 3 teams are going to be in the 3rd, and they'll be up there fighting with, for the wild card as well.
Yeah. Why hasn't the NHL moved some of these teams? Like seriously, like Quebec City has a nice new rink. Like give them a team. Like yuck.
Well, I'm still surprised that we still don't have one of these teams from the East that's moved over. We're still in a 16-14 conference setup, right?
Well, Vegas joins next year.
Obviously, Vegas will help change that next year, but.
And I think the number 32 team finds its way to something like Seattle or Portland or hell, Kansas City has a great rink. Yeah. They have a 17,500 rink that's beautiful. That can hold NHL hockey.
All right, so here's my predictions for the actual conference itself.
Okay.
I got Washington. I think Washington's going to finish first. Pittsburgh will be second. The 3rd place team has to come from that other division, which will be the Tampa Bay Lightning. Then I've got the Islanders, Rangers, Philly, Buffalo. Or no, Rangers, Buffalo, then Philly. I think Detroit's going to be a really bad team this year. I think they're going to fall off. Then Boston, Montreal, Ottawa. All kind of fumbles in there. Just the ones that are making it to the dance, I think, are those ones, I think. Washington, Pittsburgh, Tampa, Islanders, Buffalo, Rangers, Philly, and Montreal. That's what I think it's gonna. I think that'll be the top 8 from that.
I don't even have to go that far. I think it comes down to 3 teams: Washington, Pittsburgh, and Tampa. Yeah, maybe Florida, if you need to put a number 4, Florida, and maybe a number 5, Islanders. That's 5 teams. I think that's the 5 teams worth considering.
I agree with that. Cool. I think Florida is they're not gonna surprise anybody this year. They're just good.
Yeah, they're a good team for sure.
Yeah.
All right, Ekblad's back, right? I think I saw that on a highlight package. He's playing. Ekblad, he's back.
Yeah, he's back.
Yeah, he was
just held for precautionary reasons, I think.
Yeah, and that was the 1 year we didn't win the lottery. That was the guy we needed.
Imagine.
Yep.
Big time.
All right, let's jump over to the West. We've got the Central and the Pacific. In the Central, there's Dallas, St. Louis, Chicago, Nashville, Minnesota, Colorado, and Winnipeg. That is probably one of the best divisions in hockey.
Sure.
Who do you
I
got?
think it is the best division in hockey.
Huh?
That is the best division in hockey.
Yeah. Well, that's a pretty solid.
Well, you got to like 5 teams from that,
Oh,
right,
yeah.
to make the playoffs.
Yeah.
Because like the Predators are going to be there, the Chicago is going to be there, Dallas is going to be there, St. Louis is going to be there.
St. Louis is going to have a bit of a fall off. I think they're going to hurt a little bit from losing, especially a guy like David Backes.
They got depth though. They got so much talent on that team.
Now he's going to fill that role perfectly for them. You watch. He's going to turn into
Backes
2.0.
Unless Yakupov can grow about 6 inches taller and about 35 pounds heavier. I don't think that's going to happen.
Let's just hope he gets his 15 goals. That's all.
That's what every Oilers fan is hoping right now.
Yeah,
that's all I'm worried about. That's all I'm worried about.
Just get 15 goals. Just 15 goals, man. Is that too much to ask, Yakupov? Just get 15 goals.
3-1 odds that he's in the KHL next year.
You think so?
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know. I think he'll do okay in St. Louis. He's going to be given a fair shot there. I mean, like you just said, they have depth, so they don't.
We'll
have
see
to
if he
rush
can
him
buy into Hitchcock's system. Like, you got to remember, it's not like we had a dummy showing him what was going on the last year. He had a good coach here, right? And he still wasn't getting it. So we'll see.
Yeah, well, that's absolutely true. As much as I like Yakupov, and I think he was misused, he wasn't helping himself either. You know, like it's.
And that's my whole point. I love the kid, but you know, whether it was him not buying in or just not understanding certain hockey concepts or whatever you want to call it, the hockey IQ just wasn't there. You know, so
I think it was mostly frustration. I think because you remember his rookie season, he played pretty darn well.
He played great. I think a lot of it. You got to remember, he scored 5 goals in his last 2 games to get him to 17, right? So, not taking anything away, but it was what it was. But you look at Ralph Kruger, and the guy just makes magic happen. He took Europe to the finals, and they were probably the 6th best team there on paper. A
lot of people were saying that they were the worst team.
Kruger's crazy. He's so good.
Like, well, I think the Czechs were the worst team for sure. But
I don't understand for the life of me why the others fired the guy. I still don't get it.
The guy is so good that he can go to the English Premier League and be the general manager of Southampton.
Yep.
Through Skype.
I almost looked him up last year for a beer when I was there.
All class. You know you're high level when you get fired via Skype. You know you've made it. Okay, so let's see. Who do we got in the West? Who do you got for your top 3 finishes? Dallas, St. Louis, Chicago, Nashville, Minnesota, Colorado, or Winnipeg? Who are your top 3 in that Central Division?
Are we talking to me? You talking to me?
Sure.
Did you see Robert De Niro losing his mind today? That was pretty good. Yeah, he lost his mind today. It was pretty good. If you're just talking top 3, Dallas, Chicago. Oh boy, it's a pick'em after that, isn't it?
I don't know. We'll see. Who do you at? Dallas, Chicago, and
I still like St. Louis.
St. Louis, still like St. Louis there. How about you, Raj?
Still like St. Louis.
I'm gonna actually throw Nashville in the mix. I got Chicago, Dallas, Nashville.
I got Dallas.
I think St. Louis with Yakupov's minus 20 this year. I don't know. Might drop it down a notch.
I've got Dallas.
I'm just kidding.
Same place where they finished last year. They'll be the first place team there. Their top line of Ben and Sagan is just unstoppable. I've got Chicago finishing in the 2nd spot, and then I would have, probably Nashville. I've got St. Louis taking a bit of a tail off, not because of Yakupov though, but just because he has they've lost a few guys that going to be tough to fill. After that, Minnesota, Winnipeg, Colorado, even though I think Colorado's got a much better team.
I think Colorado's going to be better this year now that they got a coaching change and they're going to get a little more offense going on.
They've got Zadorov coming in too, and this kid's going to be quite good. He's made the team. From what I've gathered, he's made the team anyway, and he could turn. A lot of people saying he's a year away, but I think he could. by about the midpoint of the season, he could be really turning some heads there.
Just a ridiculously good division.
Yeah,
Nathan McKinnon looked pretty damn special in that World Cup. Oh,
yeah,
McKinnon was fun to watch.
Yeah, he's been a player to watch for a few years. That he's really quite good. Any teams that you feel are just going to fall right off in that conference? I mean, Winnipeg. I don't think this conference or this division of hockey is tough right through. Like I don't think Winnipeg's a cakewalk. I don't think Colorado's a cakewalk. Those are all solid teams. Right,
just a ridiculously good division. There's no weak spots anywhere.
I could see Minnesota. I could easily see Minnesota being the last place team in that division, and that wouldn't surprise me for the simple fact that I don't think Winnipeg and Colorado are all that far behind them.
I think any of those teams could be top 3 in our division.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Yeah,
maybe the third spot, but top 3.
So who do you got, Rush?
I think any of those teams would be top 3 in our division, if maybe not the first or second, but third spot for sure. So.
All right, and the last division is the Pacific. We've got Anaheim, LA, San Jose, Arizona, Calgary, Vancouver, and of course the Edmonton Oilers. How do you got this one playing out?
Well, got like the Sharks, of course. Although that's a team that's on borrowed time, right? Like it's how many years left? They have to start. They have to win pretty soon. Kings are always a factor, although I don't see how they'd be better.
I think the Kings this year are the number 1 seed in this conference, in this division. I think they overtake Anaheim. I think they'll be the best team in the.
I got LA first, San Jose second, and Anaheim third.
Yeah, that sounds agreeable.
I've got LA.
Now that LA's got that extra rest this year, they've had some long seasons with playoffs and Olympics and everything else. I think their guys are going to be rested and ready to get after it.
Yeah, I've got LA finishing first. Kind of the same reasons. They've had a bit of a break off, and that team is just too good, too big, too strong, too good. I do have Anaheim finishing ahead of San Jose, just because I think San Jose is sort of they're going to take a little bit of a different approach this year. They're going to be one of the top teams, but I don't think they're going to. Like in previous years, they've had to sort of really run and gun just to make it, and I don't think that they're gonna be more in a driver's seat. They're gonna be resting guys periodically, and I think they've got like Richard said, they're on borrowed time, so I think they've maybe got a year or 2 left before they're cooked. So
the Pacific is garbage compared to the Central. Just listening to the list,
it really is.
Oh yeah,
and as a surprise, I think I'm gonna put Edmonton in the 4th spot.
See, I'd put Calgary there. I wouldn't put Edmonton.
I know. But living in Calgary and being an Oilers fan, I got to give Edmonton that because I'm hoping Goudreau sits out for the first month of the season, and that puts him behind the 8 ball.
Yeah, they're going to have to cough it up. They're going to have to pay him.
Definitely.
Well, they've got, I think, 7.98 in cap space, and he wants 8+, and he's friggin' good.
They're going to have to pay him. He's too.
I think he should get 8+. As much as it pains me to say it, but the kid's good.
I think I've got Vancouver finishing last.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. By the way, the easiest money I made this week was with one of my good friends. I gave him 3-1 odds that Vancouver wouldn't make the playoffs, which I think is a sucker bet.
Oh.
And I think that's easy money. So
yeah, I think they're going to be last in that conference, followed by Arizona. I think Arizona. Yes. There's going to be a gap there, though. I think Vancouver's going to be the worst by quite a margin. And then you've got.
Well, if you watch the game tonight, if you've seen how slow the Sedins looked, I think that should tell you everything you need to know. Connor McDavid went around him like he was standing still.
He goes around everybody like they're standing
still. Well, yeah, not quite like they're standing still, but Sedin like he was in quicksand. Yeah. It was ugly. Yeah.
Yeah, I've got Vancouver.
Probably should have been a penalty too if you saw the play. But.
Arizona on 4th. Yeah, you could definitely go with Edmonton or Calgary. I'm hoping that Edmonton's in that talk right there anyway. So
I think the Edmonton Calgary is going to flip flop depending on if they get Johnny signed.
Yeah, it could be an injury sort of.
Calgary's defense is good.
Their defense is still good, and they got a top-notch goaltender this year, which hurt them a lot last year. So.
Yeah, I'm still not sold on Elliott all that much, but I mean, hey, what do I know?
I'm not an Elliott fan either, but
Yeah.
whatever.
So yeah, as far as the conference goes, I'm going. Dallas is going to be. I think Dallas is staying right where they are. They're going to be the first place team, followed by Chicago. Then I've got a little bit of a flip flop because St. Louis is not going to be there this year. I think it's going to be. Hang on, it's got to be the division, doesn't it?
Well, for the conference, I think we have to go put one of the Pacific teams ranked number 2, right? So that's how they do it for playoffs, right?
Yeah, Dallas, and then Dallas, then LA, then Chicago, then it would be St. Louis, Nashville, St. Louis, San Jose, Minnesota, I guess, and that last playoff spot could be up for grabs to Colorado, Winnipeg, Calgary, Edmonton.
Yeah, it's a crapshoot at the end of it, right? Like
Yeah.
there's kind of a big separation between the top 5 or 6 teams and everybody else.
Yeah, there is. Yeah, yeah. I think you could be looking at Minnesota battling it out with Colorado, Edmonton, Calgary for that last spot.
Winnipeg. Gotta like Winnipeg's team too.
Yeah, Winnipeg's looking much better too. Blake Wheeler's a beast.
I'm not a fan of that roster. I don't think they go anywhere this year.
I think they're going to be okay. They'll be a tough team. Well, it depends on what
They got
the situation.
They got a big, strong team there, and Scheifele's gonna have a good year. Nick Ehlers, they're pretty solid.
I think their main concern is their goaltending. I think they have to move on from Pavlik, and they've got to give Hellebuck his due. I think it's Hellebuck's turn to step up and take the reins of that team, I think.
They got to figure out what Mr. Trouba's doing.
But he's going to be dealt, I think. He might go for Shattenkirk, or he might go for Hamonic or something along those lines, I think.
I think there's still going to be a 3-way deal with Anaheim somewhere.
That could be. Yeah, that could very
They'll
well.
end up with Fowler or something, I think. They got to get rid of Fowler or Lindholm, or Vatanen, I should say.
Yeah, well, it'll be Fowler, I think, is the odd man out there, I believe. All right, so any last thoughts, guys? This was an exceptionally good podcast, by the way. Thanks for showing up, guys.
Yes, absolutely. I don't know. Final thought. The Oilers start with 5 home games pretty quickly into the season.
Yeah, the start of their years.
We got home and home with Calgary, and then we got Buffalo, Carolina, St. Louis, I want to say. I just remember last year we had St. Louis back-to-back games to start the year. That's never
a horrible start.
I just think it's really key for this team. Like if we're talking Oilers centric here,
we need to have a good start.
Boy, they need to capitalize because they actually have a decent schedule for a change, and they have a decent start. There's teams they can beat in this, and they should beat. And they have to, and people have to show up. Like I think one of the things I liked about watching the game today is that the team seems like it's a little bit more mature now. They play with more composure.
They had zone time for like 3 minutes. They had zone time. I haven't seen that for years.
Yeah, and I think that it's noticeable that this team is sort of growing up and it's maturing and getting better. But they have to put some results up, and if they have a chance at the playoffs, because I think that the players don't go into a season, even if it's I think it's a developmental team still at this point, or at least it's in a developmental state. The players don't go in there to lose; they go in there to try and compete and win. And McDavid, like he's a thoroughbred. This guy wants to win now, and I hope they do. The first step is actually playing, going 6-4, maybe 7-3. I don't know. Put up some numbers, win some games.
I think we got to come out first 10 games ago, minimum 500, because we've started so slow the last few years. It's just put us behind the ball.
Worst case scenario for any Oilers fan: the Oilers start off 3-7. Yakupov scores 8 goals to start the year off.
No, we want 15. He can score his 15 in the first 15 games.
He scores.
And I gotta tell you to turn off your PlayStation right there. Okay, no more PlayStation for you.
If he scores 8 goals in the first 15 games, Oiler fans are going to shit. I mean, we only got a second-round pick for Nail Yakupov. What the fuck? That's what's going to happen.
Well, they're going to do that.
I wish I could say that
anyways.
was even a possibility, but no chance.
It could happen. It could happen. Imagine.
The Oilers fan base is comically irrational, and that's the fun. That's why I started writing about them in the first place. Is that it's such a gong show from the team on down to the fan base. It's hilarious, and because everybody just loses their mind about everything, and everybody's ripping to shreds, yet you can't criticize anything either at the same time. It's hilarious, and
Yeah.
you gotta feel for the players who play on this team, like, quite honestly, because one of the things that have to affect players like a Justin Schultz or Nail Yakupov is this fan base is so irrational and so engaged that these guys they don't get a moment's peace playing here. So this team,
We got a passionate fan base for sure.
I hope.
Though, right?
Well, maybe not. Maybe there's lots of players that'll sign in a New York or in LA because they're anonymous. They can just make their millions playing on the ice and then disappear.
Sure, it's not the weather and the fake tits. Come on, Richard.
There's a lot of fake tits in Edmonton. There's some real ones too. I guess
everyone goes to LA for fake tits in the weather. Come on, man.
But no, getting back to the point here, I think that for this team's own psychological health and functioning, I think that it's very important that they're still in the playoff conversation in December, right? Because we always get to December and it's like, oh God, it's happening again, and why does this keep happening? And by the time
if we get to December.
Yeah, and by the time February rolls around, everybody's sitting there going, who do we have to get rid of? And, it's got to get tiring for the players who are on this team who actually do care to have the same sort of discussion every year. I think it's very important for this team at least to be somewheres in the mix, for a good 4 or 5 months.
All right, one last thought. What are your thoughts on McDavid getting the captaincy? We didn't touch on this yet, which is surprising. That was big news here just a while back, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm good with it. I liked everything he's had to say so far, all the interviews. He's obviously far and away the best player we got, and there's no sense in holding back anymore. He's ready.
I will agree with that as well. I think that it was a smart move. Anybody who ever had any sort of inclinations that maybe he wasn't going to stick around after his entry-level deal, I think that's pretty much squashed with that right there. This kid's going to be there for a while, and he's the future in the face of this franchise. And I don't think I think the team doing that basically gave him that message quite strongly.
The move kind of concerns me in some ways, in the sense that that's an awful lot to ask for a 19-year-old kid.
I think
but then again,
though. That's the thing, though.
But
right?
he's Connor McDavid.
Yeah.
Like, this is the thing, right? Like, this is not.
He can handle it. He can handle it.
Like, this is not an average. This is not even an average first overall pick. This is an exceptional player. This is a generational player, as they'll call him. And I actually had a good laugh at that expression, because I heard during one broadcast, I think it was during the World Cup, that they named about 4 or 5 guys as being generational players, and I kind of went, that's not how math works. I think Connor McDavid is the generational player. I think you can't have more than one generational player, or else it doesn't make any sense.
I think he's a new generational player. I mean, Crosby was
very much.
For that. He's definitely the next one.
Yeah, well, he's a better player than Crosby, or he will be, and I don't mean that as an insult to Sidney Crosby. McDavid's talent level is sort of on a level with Gretzky and Lemieux and maybe Bobby Orr, if you look at players in the history of the game, in terms of how good this guy is. What makes Crosby a great player is just his level of compete, and he can function in all areas of the ice. McDavid's a magician. Like, he can do stuff.
He does it all at top speed, right? That's I think his thing, right? So
he's breathtaking.
He's the like I've said this before. He's by far the best skater I've ever seen lace on a pair of skates. He can go from top speed going one way to top speed going the other way in fractions of a second. It's insane. If you watch,
he's a top speed in 2 steps. It's scary.
Watch how fast his feet are and how fast he can transition from, left to right or front to back. He's that's what makes him that much more special. He's got that transition in his, and I think from everything that I've seen of him, it is just his feet. It's how fast he can move his feet, how fast he gets from, going one way stop and be able to get onto the, whether it's a defender or the puck or whatever it is, he gets there just faster than anybody I've ever seen in the history of the game.
Out of all the things, the elements that make up the Oilers, McDavid is the part that concerns me the least. He's the one thing that's right about the team, right? And everybody can agree with. So I'm nervous about the idea of any 19-year-old being made captain of a pro sports team. But on the flip side of that, it's McDavid. We're not talking about an average guy here. We're not talking about Taylor Hall here. Like, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to insult Hall. It's just we're not talking about
just a different sort of player.
It's a different level completely.
Yeah. And getting back to that, if Hall was the guy, he would have got named captain last year. He clearly wasn't the guy.
Obviously.
There was a lot more to Taylor Hall's story than I think people realize. I think
I agree with that. I definitely heard from inside source that he was the cancer in the room.
I heard it was Eberle at one point. I had heard that both those two guys were the main concern. That they were sort of the split down the room. Now, I don't know how much truth there is to that or not either, but that was from the people that I know anyway, that's what I heard. I heard that it was him and Eberle and Hall. They were kind of on the same page, and everyone else was sort of on the outsides. Even Nugent Hopkins was sort of placed out on the outsides, and Yakupov as well. And
they're definitely going into it a different dynamic this season, right?
For sure.
McDavid's a very he's very intellectual. You listen to him speak, but at the same time, he's soft spoken. He's not a knucklehead. He's a composed guy, and Eberle's a very cheery guy. Nugent Hopkins very almost shy, a composed guy. He just goes about his business. And I think the Oilers and Draisaitl, same sort of temperament. Puljujarvi's even got that temperament where these are. These are guys that are going to show up for work every day, and they're going to take this seriously. And I think, and even people like Clefbaum and Larson, who have very similar sort of, I think the management is going to.
With Lucic there now, we'll tell you, he'll whip.
Well, there's a very specific direction the management is trying to go with this team in terms of composition, the psychological composition of the team, not just in terms of athletics, but in terms of mindset and approach. And I think that it was pretty obvious. Like Hall's comments post-trade, some of the stuff he said, recently, you sort of sit there and go, come on, man. Like, you played on this team.
Yeah.
You know that the right side defense is the biggest problem they have. Like, don't take it personally. You're an asset. No offense. You're an asset. Yeah. And the team, go for it.
I think we've got a more professional locker room than we did at the end of last season.
Yes.
And like I said, no slight against Hall or Yakupov, but I think we've got a more mature lineup in there right now. So.
And I think that's an intentional thing by management. I think one of the things that management was trying to address is that, there were certain players here that had a very sort of a lackadaisical country club approach, or you have players who are throwing tantrums, and you sort of look at that and go, no, we need people who are in it. That they're professionals and that they're going to be want to be part of the solution, and they're not going to be, a distraction one way or the other. And you have guys who are pretty focused now, and that's one of the things that I liked about Lucic and some of the things he said once he was signed was that here's a guy that's he understands what it takes to be, to win and to succeed. He's had to fight at every level in his career to get where he was, and
he's focused and he's driven too, and that's a big thing that this team needed for sure. I'm going to call the show here, guys, if that's okay with you. I've got a few other arrangements that are up and coming, but again, thanks a lot, guys. That was a great show. Unexpected to have you here, Raj, but very, very happy.
Well, I'm glad I finally got to tune in for one since I've been overseas for the last few months. So
let's try and get these a little bit more frequently while the season starts. Hopefully we'll get one more in before the start of the season.
That sounds good. Generally, a Saturday evening is not the best time for me, but it happened to work out tonight. So
I set it up on Saturday evening because of a couple of the other guys that canceled sort of last minute.
Right.
So. All right. Well, thanks for watching, guys, and thanks for being on. I'll talk to you guys soon.
All right, guys. Take care.
Keep track of the Hockey Outsiders, yeah?
Yeah.
You got it.
Take care.
Take care, guys.